Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of the Spiritual Catalyst podcast, where we talk about all things weird and woo. I am your host, Sarah Lyons, the founder of the New Earth School, and today we have Dr. Melanie Keller with us to talk about epigenetic and energetic intelligence. Dr. Dr. Melanie ND is a distinguished naturopathic doctor and a clear channel for Merlin, the magician. She brings forth ancient wisdom and modern insight for spiritual entrepreneurs, light workers, and light leaders who have unique biological requirements and understands the intricacies of the human experience while on the ascension journey. Her unique gifts include the exploration into realms of epigenetic and energetic intelligence, and this unique blend of scientific expertise and mystical guidance empowers individuals to embody their highest selves, enhance their gifts, and align with their highest timeline. Dr. Melanie, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, this is a super cool topic. I'm really excited to dive into this. But for those listeners who may not be familiar with epigenetic or energetic intelligence, can you give us a little bit of info about what that really is and what that means?
Yes, and I'm learning as Merlin teaches me as well. So, but to get into the logistics, shall we say, what I'll offer my patients and clients is that if they've ever done 23andMe or Ancestry, so more of a, out of a curiosity's sake, we can utilize that raw data and actually get other reports. And they're pretty popular out there in terms of from your fitness to your skincare. I even use one for cannabinoids for people. And then there's one I've been using for a long time, as long as it has been available. And so the intelligence that we're referring to is about not because you have said report, it equals that you should take certain supplements or you should do certain things necessarily. So I see that in my world where people say, oh, they have this particular genetic mutation, so therefore they need to take these specific supplements. And I'm here to say, that's not always the case. In fact, there are certain ingredients to things that put the accelerator or the brake on certain enzymatic pathways. And then we also have to keep in mind what we've been told about how our body functions. And that leads more into the energetic intelligence as well, where that can often be completely missed on these, let's call them maybe even biohacking ways that we can gain information. Okay. So I never necessarily preferred that term. I always like to use the term of just like having an epigenetic intuition to an extent. But now I'm getting the depths since working with Merlin deeper on how much further that goes. And so to again go back to the energetic intelligence, it's how many people are, say, for example, saying, let's reduce this, or I need to clear my energy, but they're spending a lot of time on their phone, or they're spending a lot of time even on with a computer, right? And they don't even turn off their computer, or they leave multiple screens and browsers open. And what type of energetics are happening there when we don't close those things out, when we don't put our computer in sleep mode, or quite frankly, even turn it off or go in airplane mode, etc., when you're sleeping. So a lot of these biohacking technologies, right, will have you have your phone with your ring for your sleep, or, so there's these levels of, yes, we want to be able to find a balance between knowing some information to make your healthcare more specific for you, but then also knowing and balancing out the energetics so that we're not doing too much of anything, right? We all know that balance and moderation is optimal.
Yes. And I absolutely used to be guilty of leaving my computer on all of the time until my daughter told me off. She said, Mom, I understand it more of an energetic level today because I know how it feels when I leave the screens on, or if I'm on my phone too much or have the tally running. It doesn't feel good, and I literally feel that life force sort of being drained out of me. I'd be so curious to know if Merlin has brought through to you the deeper meanings under that. For example, the energies that are being emitted through the screens.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's definitely brought it in as like a you have no idea. Like, say, for example, I don't know what era it was because it was before my time, but I just recall my parents telling me about the subliminal messages that would happen at the drive-in movie. So if you stayed, right, and watched the commercial, it was legal at the time to have subliminal messaging. And so I don't know exactly when in the States that was banned. They claim that that was discontinued, but we know that that's not true. And in fact, it's gone to an even higher level. Right. And so we all need some time to say disconnect. But I grew up in Southeast Alaska in the 80s when it was one television channel by the satellite, like you had to learn how to entertain yourself. And I think about like how joyous it was to be around all these family friends versus my blood relatives, let's say. But a majority of what they did, especially in the wintertime, was sauna, roll in the snow. In the summertime, it was about fishing. It was all about this connection to the land. And maybe you brought a book with you, but also maybe you were just looking at nature. And because I grew up in it, I was 6 years old when we moved there, and it was such a foreign place to go to. But now as an adult, I reflect back and go, wow, yeah, my mom in her 30s and that community and that connection to nature that we just didn't have access to. You had to go get up and pick up the phone and maybe rotary dial or push buttons at some point. Or when we first got answering machines and how people, you would go about your day, but you would maybe come home and be like, ooh, is there a message for me? And now we're just very inundated with so much access to us that it's overstimulating as well. And so that's just one of the things that I would lovingly like to say to light workers. Like, if you're a light being and you're not recognizing and you're not shutting these things down or off,
Yeah.
that can be affecting your health. And oftentimes they don't have that medical professional that they can talk to and say, I'm a clear channel. I'm going through an energetic upgrade. I might have an implant. Like they aren't able to freely say these things or be eating a particular way. Maybe a doctor would say, what are you doing eating these particular foods or going through a fast or yeah, as it relates to where their energy is in the moment. And that's also kind of the intelligence of both things, because like I'll give a good example of either probiotics or turmeric. Turmeric is said to be, you know, anti-inflammatory, and it's got this, like, there's research behind it. Yet in somebody's certain epigenetic reports, I've seen, no, absolutely. I'm not going to say absolutely not, but I'm going to say that may not pertain to you. In fact, that might even be pro-inflammatory for your body at this moment in time. And so sometimes there are these blanket statements that are made, even in natural medicine, even in herbal medicine. And I just want to be able to say, look, you know your energy best also, I really like my clients and patients to be able to discern, even if we're bringing in electrolyte, they should be able to, or ideally can explain to me, or we can have some form of exchange, even if it's telepathic, as to what that's doing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're not just taking something because it's said to do this.
Oh, that's very refreshing to hear. And I'm sure the listeners will agree, because, today like you said, we're inundated with so much information. It's hard to know what's right, what's wrong. And the more we're in tune with our own bodies, the more we can discern what's good for us, what is not good for us. And I can see how, the screens distracting us from being in tune with ourselves has a big role to play in this. Do you think humanity can come back from this? Because it feels like we're in a pretty dire space with technology at the moment.
That's true. And then we know within the past few years when everything was bring yourself inside, right? And people might be shocked to know that indoor air quality can be really bad. It can be worse than being out in a, even living in LA, I'd say just walking. I didn't drive in LA, but I'm like just being a human being taking walks every day, I am being exposed to, certain higher level of toxins. And so I think that it's really important to either, even if it's your own backyard, to do grounding barefoot on the earth. If it's even touching a tree, if not hugging the tree, have at it, right? But just even having that communication and touch and transference between beings, living beings, I think it can be a way to help energize, if not balance, somebody's electrical energy. Because of course we do, it's just a life, it's what is kind of required. But at the same time, I would say open some windows. How is your ventilation? When's the last time you went on a walk for some people? To move your lymph. In fact, I remember one of my mentors, he would give, we dealt with a lot of specifically GI, irritable bowel syndrome. And if you notice that majority of militaries around the world will do this exaggerated kind of swing with their arms and legs, and we refer to that as cross crawl. And we learn that as we're learning to crawl as humans, but it's also when it's that exaggerated, that's helping the brain decompress, if not release traumas.
Ah,
And so it's important, even if when you are walking, or like I would take my dog for a walk and I go, oh, okay, how could I maybe put her leash in my pocket or something so that I am able to swing my arms? And these can be little things, just notice if you're carrying your phone, notice if you're taking a podcast with you for a walk. I mean, of course, been trained to become multitaskers, but I think there is even some level of just even try going for a walk around your building. If you work from home or you're working in an office, just take a break. Do not take your phone and just take a walk around the building. You'd be shocked at how much that can shift your energy. And if we are energy beings and this is what we do and this is our profession, it is part of the walk and your talk, right?
absolutely. And these days, I think again there's a lot of collective fear, belief viruses, implants, distractions, whatever you want to call them, that have us thinking, oh, I have to take my phone because something bad could happen. What would happen if I don't have my phone? So I love how you have suggested taking small baby steps, just maybe going around the block. Yeah, super valuable. Thank you.
It just happened to me recently. I was going for a beautiful nature walk, but my phone needed to charge and it was like, 30% or something. Like, oh my God, I have to take it with me. And then I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, but I'm just saying the human mind will go there. And so I appreciate what you're saying. So I'm like, yep, that just literally just happened to me. And yet I know I had a more freeing walk
Yes.
just by not even having it with me. Even if I was moved by something and that you'd think, oh, let's take a video. Oh, this is a great time for a, no, I was able, the fact that it was not with me, that there was that permission to release.
Yeah, I love that. It is so freeing not having a phone.
Yeah.
Yes. So do you still specialize in the in GI, or have you branched out? Have you noticed a theme of people that are coming to you for certain things?
I yes, I do still work in with GI. I specifically irritable bowel syndrome. And then the underlying cause of irritable bowel syndrome, at least 60 to 80% of it is a bacterial overgrowth. So I'm very much like that's what I'm known for. And at the same time, energetically, it was getting draining because there is this algorithm and people will keep kind of spinning in this algorithm. And yet I have this other perspective. And I now know that it's been Merlin, who's been I had this serious passion about dropping even recommendations for herbals, and I shifted into really balancing the body as a whole, and more specifically with pH. And, so he's helping me creating these solutions and potions in a sense that I thought people are going to think this is crazy, or people are going to think this is too simple. And yet it turns out they were very grateful for the simplicity because they had pretty much tried everything else. And so when you're getting the top of the top, and I mean, they've been even everywhere in the world. I had a gentleman from Dubai fly me to Prague to, just, and when I had to say, look, we actually just need to get to basics and actually take a time out on the supplements. And I'm not talking about people's major specific medications, but perhaps even a break on their medications to then reset the whole system. And it's based in the simplicity that people get results so quickly. And we don't have to restrict the diet, and we can move on to more freeing things. And that's where they were, I guess, so amazed. And so they had a newfound trust in me as well, because they may have come to me initially going, "Oh, you're another naturopath. I see how, well known you are. I hope you have something different." And then when I have something completely different for them, and then I also offer energy work, right? So some people order from that menu and some don't. But those who do, has been absolutely fascinating and mesmerizing to see what next level, what opens up, what type of conversations we can have, right? And so that's where, as I'm coming more into maybe openly communicating this, I haven't broadcasted my connection with Merlin outside of my more spiritual space. Just, this is a fairly new thing. And it came by way of working with a business mentor who, as we were working through my, here's your low hanging fruit, here's your people, and we're writing content and they're checking in on my energy about things. And I also have done consulting for equity with large businesses. And then at the same time, she just blurted out, she's like, "You're a channel. This is what's happening for you." And then even got more specific about, "You're a channel for Merlin." And since then, everything has just been really coming into place. And I've gotten a flood of information that I know he is ready to share, that we are ready to share. And yeah, so it's been an exciting time.
I love it. The world is ready for it. And for those of our beautiful listeners that would just love to get in touch with you, Dr. Melanie, for whatever reason, where can we find you?
I do have the intuitiveedgedoctor.com currently. That's where people can find the energy work, and they can fill out a form to work to find out at my one-on-one offers. And I also have my handle dr.melanie_ND for social media.
Beautiful. And I'll definitely make sure we pop those links in the episode details here. Thank you so much for coming on to share your magic, your beautiful melon energy with all of us today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, to those beautiful listeners that have joined us for another episode, thank you so much. If you are loving the Spiritual Catalyst podcast, please consider leaving us a review and following for more beautiful episodes. See you next time. Bye.